I was asked to make a predictions video on which robots I think will be making it into the round of 32. Now, at the time of recording, we've only seen 10 episodes of Battlebots. There's still so many fights left to go. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get these quite accurately enough, but I thought I'd give it a try. You know, because part of the fun is going to be seeing how close or far I end up getting some of these predictions. So, with that all being said, here are my predictions, at the moment at least, for who I think will make it to the round of 32. We'll start from number 1 and we'll then end up at number 32. I don't really feel that strongly about the numbering, but, you know, I kind of have to, don't I? You know, that's the whole point of the video. And I'll try to explain myself as best as I can, but again, some of these were really difficult to pick, to be honest. And first up, our number 1 seed, I'm almost certain, is going to be Endgame. Now, you might be wondering why I'd pick Endgame, given that there are robots right now that are undefeated. Well, it's a few things. Firstly, you know, there's some tough opponents that Endgame has beaten, such as Blip and Hypershock. Their loss is to surprise up-and-comer RIPperoni, which I actually think could end up working in their favour. And they're a former champion and Golden Bolt winner. I think that as well will catapult Endgame to maintaining that number 1 seed heading into the round of 32. Then you got number 2, which is Witch Doctor. Now, Witch Doctor, currently at the time of recording, standing at 3-0 after attaining wins over Ribbot, Fusion, and Gruff with a fight against Minotaur to go. Again, pedigree definitely helps in this case, as I feel that it will help Witch Doctor in gaining a higher seed, but being undefeated and potentially, I think, may even go 4-0, though saying that, as a massive Minotaur fan, I do feel it could go either way, but if Witch Doctor does manage to secure 4-0, I could see them getting the number 2 seed. Number 3, and a controversial one, it's Riptide. Riptide, who has been decimating the competition, and I have a feeling will no doubt go 4-0. It's beaten Glitch, it's beaten MadCatter, it's beaten Shredderator, and, you know, whether or not we'll have to see whether or not it ends up knocking out Black Dragon, it's going to go 4-0 in my opinion. I think that's almost a certainty, and like Riptide or not, that's going to be extremely hard to argue against in it getting such a high placing. To me, it just makes sense. You know, like them or not, they've done so well. Of course, they're going to get like the number 3 placement in the top 32. Then you have Sawblaze, who is currently undefeated after beating Hypershock, Lockjaw, and Skorpios. And with one fight left to go, which win or lose, they're going to do very well against Hydra. Now, if they lose, they've lost to a very high-tier opponent. If they win, which I think they will, they'll have beaten a high-tier opponent. And I think that that will be enough to get them the number 4 placement in the round of 32. Then we got Minotaur at number 5, who has so far done exceptionally well, beating Tantrum, free shipping, Cobalt, and will have a match against Witch Doctor. Just based on the fact that they've beaten a champion and will be going toe-to-toe with Witch Doctor, win or lose, that already would secure them a spot in my opinion. However, their wins against free shipping and Cobalt will almost assure them the win. Like, anyone who's 3-0 right now, I can spoil this for you, they're on my list. Like, at this point, something would have to go catastrophically wrong for them to not make it. And then at number 6, we have Claw Viper. Claw Viper, who has gone 3-0 against Ominous, Ribbot, and Overhaul. And his last fight is going to be against Hypershock. Now, some people are definitely going to be questioning me putting Claw Viper this high, but I think Claw Viper's shocking performance, like, they're dominating displays, I think is going to impress enough that it's going to get a notable bump. Similar to what I feel will happen with Riptide getting the number 3 spot. I think in this case, these robots are going to impress so much the selection committee that they're going to just put these robots in these high positions. Another robot that I think will do exactly that is the wonderful pizza RIPperoni. Now, RIPperoni may have lost its first fight against Gruff, but its wins so far have been exceptional. Not only getting a KO win over Hijinks, but beating former champions Endgame. That is incredible. That win alone, coupled with the Hijinks win, which is almost just the icing on top, I think that has secured them that win. Even if they lose to Copperhead, which would bump them quite a few positions down on my list, you know, I'd still say that they're a shoo-in to be in the round of 32. But I have faith that they might just break the Copperhead curse and go 3-1. But I will admit, giving it the number 7 spot was difficult, given the performance of number 8, Huge, who has been devastating, and who I'm almost certain will be going 4-0. Shatter, Blip, Fusion, and Starchild. You know, some incredible fights. Only thing that I think, you know, now we've got to look at the strength of the schedule, and the only reason I'd rank it lower is because while 4-0, wins against, you know, newer robots like Starchild, Hammerbots like Shatter, and previously very unreliable Fusion, I feel like this is a situation where the committee might not place it as high as some of the other undefeated robots. Still, Huge in my mind has got this in the bag, a guaranteed 4-0 in my opinion. Then at number 9, we have Quantum! Quantum, the great crusher, bringing back just that amazing piercing potential as they took out Captain Shredderator, Gruff, and Black Dragon, with their last fight being against Emulsifier. And while it'll be difficult, I think they might just be able to pull this off. Emulsifier is not the lowest to the ground robot ever made, and I think Quantum could get that 4-0 victory. I don't think the schedule is quite strong enough to get them any higher up, but again, going 3-0 and potentially even 4-0 is more than enough in my opinion to get you into that top 10. Quantum has had a hell of a performance this season, and I am so happy to see it. Now, we were talking about performances we didn't see coming with the likes of Claw Viper, but did anyone expect the fights we've seen with Copperhead? Copperhead, who has destroyed Bloodsport, destroyed Triton, and Kraken, it didn't know what it was doing. Copperhead has gone crazy this season, and with one last fight to go against RIPperoni, there is the real chance the curse takes hold and RIPperoni's rear flywheel stops working, meaning Copperhead would easily have that fight. So, to me, that means that RIPperoni, could allow Copperhead to go much higher in the list. But, as it stands, because I don't think they're going to be able to win this one, I've got to give this a number 10 spot. And then number 11, we have Death Roll. Now, Death Roll, you might think is a little bit more on shaky grounds. I mean, their wins so far are just Switchback and Mammoth. Not to say anything bad about these robots, but Mammoth hasn't got the strongest armor, and Switchback is still proving itself. Its loss is to Cobalt, which, while that's definitely a stronger robot to lose to, again, we got to keep in mind that strength of schedule, it's not enough to necessarily grant them round of 32 position. But I think that their fight against Monsoon will turn the tide. Once they get that, they will be 3-1, and like I said, once you get to that position, once you've gotten 3 victories, I think you're a shoo-in for the round of 32. So in my mind, it doesn't matter that Switchback and Mammoth may not be the strongest wins. The loss to someone as strong as Cobalt and the win over Monsoon, I think will be enough to get them into the round of 32. And at number 12, we have the new generation of Flipper. It's Team Waiachi's Hydra. Coming in at 2-1, I gotta say the strength of schedule really comes through on their loss, as it was to former champion Tantrum, defending champions Tantrum at that. That to me is a great argument for them for the strength of schedule. Again, you can lose, but if you lose to someone that's good, then that is massively beneficial to you. More beneficial if you won, of course, though. Their wins so far have been to Rotator and free shipping, and a Rotator win definitely would have been very nice. And while I think they're going to lose to Sawblaze, again, that's another extremely solid argument. A 2-2 record's getting a bit dicey, but a 2-2 record, I think it's a strong enough one to get them in. Then you've got number 13, MadCatter. MadCatter, who has had wins over Whiplash and Big Dill, so far has been doing pretty solidly. And its main struggle has been against the almighty Riptide, which took them out in about a minute. Now, saying that, MadCatter has one more fight to really prove itself against Lockjaw, and I think this is going to, completely secure MadCatter's position. Finding robots like Whiplash and Lockjaw absolutely are robots that are going to give them that strength of schedule. If they win that fight, they're guaranteed in. But even if they lose, I think they've still got a potential argument to make here. And then at number 14, we have Beta! Beta, who, oh my god, has had an incredible performance so far. Now, we only have 2 of the fights at the moment, Kraken and Shatter. Their other fights will be against Black Dragon and Bloodsport, and I gotta admit, I'm a little nervous for them. Black Dragon, I think Beta's done for it. I've got to be straight up. I think Black Dragon is going to have him. Beta has struggles immensely with Verts. But Bloodsport might be a different story. This new version of Bloodsport hasn't seemingly found its footing quite yet, and, with a very vulnerable top part, Beta might just have their number. Either way, I think they're going to have a strong enough argument to make the round of 32, but of course, my positioning is this high because I think that they'll be able to beat Bloodsport. If they lose, then again, they'll probably go severely down the list, but not enough to knock them off, in my opinion. Then we have Skorpios. Now, Team Skorpios, the fight against Sawblaze massively disappointed, but with 2 wins over Jackpot and Big Dill, and I feel could potentially beat Ribbot, will give them that 3-1 that will get them into the round of 32. And plus, of course, a loss to Sawblaze, while that was a very bad loss, might still be a decent argument for them. So, I think they've got this pretty much in the bag. Then you got number 16, it's Cobalt! Oh my god, you knew this was coming! Don't try to pretend you didn't. Cobalt, which beat Death Roll, lost to Minotaur. Sure, 1-1, you might be thinking, why would you pick Cobalt? Because of its next 2 fights, Overhaul and Lucky. Now, I love Lucky, and I think Overhaul's pretty cool. I see why a lot of people like Overhaul. They're not beating Cobalt. Cobalt is going to have an easy run to 3-1, in my opinion. No doubt in my mind. So, with that in mind, I think Cobalt is safe for the round of 32. Then I believe number 17 will be Blip. Now, Blip has had a rocky time, admittedly, but its losses have been to high-tier opponents. Endgame and Huge. Again, they've lost to a former champion, and they lost to Huge. Huge is a very well-proven robot so far, especially in this latest run. And of course, their win so far has been to defending champions Tantrum. They just need to beat Banshee, which may not be a lot, but I think the strength of schedule is really going to be backing Blip up here. Then at number 18, I believe Fusion will make the round of 32. Now, this one I'm a little bit nervous about, because, of course, we know that Fusion is pretty unreliable. Fusion, however, has had a win over Emulsifier, maybe not the craziest thing, but its losses to Witch Doctor and Huge is a great strength of schedule argument, and I think that they're going to really throw Rotator off its game. Keep in mind that a lot of these spinners, they're going to struggle to know how to deal with Fusion. If you're a horizontal, then Fusion can just come at you with the vert and knock you everywhere. If you try to get low to the ground, then Fusion can send its horizontal at you. I just feel like Rotator might struggle here. So I think Fusion might go 2-2. At number 19, I believe Malice will make it through to the round of 32, based on the fact that I think that it's got itself pretty well secured. Lockjaw is its one big loss, and Emulsifier and Valkyrie are its wins. Both pretty solid wins in my opinion. And its last match is against Gruff. Maybe not the strongest schedule overall. There's definitely robots with much more competitive schedules. But I think Malice is going to have a solid enough argument to just make their way in And my placing is just in case that they win. Because if they beat Gruff, I think that's going to bump them up just that little bit more, given that they will be 3-1. Number 20, I believe Lucky is going to make it through to the round of 32. Now, I told you that I think Lucky is going to lose to Cobalt, but they have another fight that they're going to need to do as well against Shreddit Bro. And listen, I think Shreddit Bro's neat, but I don't think it's going to win. Lucky is so low to the ground, it's doing so well, and Shreddit Bro just has these teething issues. I don't think it's going to be able to beat Lucky, meaning Lucky is going to go 3-1 in my opinion. And that is going to be pretty good for it. That is definitely going to guarantee it around a 32 spots. Its other wins against Triton and Kraken were also really good. I think Lucky is having one of the best runs it's had in a while. Then at number 21, it's Black Dragon. Black Dragon, who in my opinion is having one crazy schedule so far. A win against Monsoon and a loss to Quantum. So far, their run might be on the balance right now. Some of you might not be sure if Black Dragon's going to make it, but I think a guaranteed win against Beta is absolutely going to help, and then their fight against Riptide, if they win, that'll be huge. Massive for them. Even if they lose though, that would still be 2-2, and I think the schedule would be just strong enough to ensure that they won't be going anywhere. Now at number 22, I believe Rotator will be making it into the round of 32. Now Rotator, who has lost to Hydra, but won against Jackpot, and has fights with Bloodsport and Fusion. Now Bloodsport, I think, is a shoo-in for Rotator. I love Bloodsport, but it's really struggling at the moment, and I just don't know if that motor gets hit by Rotator's weapon, over. End of story. Just nothing happening there. Rotator, if it could do that, I think it's got a solid argument to make it into the round of 32. And that fight against Fusion, I said that I think Fusion's got it, but I can't say that I'm certain. That's going to be one to watch. Then at number 23, I think Hypershock will be making it into the round of 32. Now, its losses are against high-tier opponents like Sawblaze and Endgame, which again, we have to go back to the strength of schedule argument, as that's a real thing that they do consider in Battlebots. Sure, it doesn't mean as much as winning, but if you lose to Endgame, that probably does mean more than winning against Balespear, for instance, I think that will help Hypershock in the long run. Plus, their win over Whiplash will have helped them immensely, and I think that they've got a good chance of beating Claw Viper. I would love Claw Viper to go 4-0, but Hypershock, they just need one mistake to really ruin Claw Viper's day. With that in mind, Hypershock, I think it's going to go up to the round of 32. Now, number 24, and I can definitely tell that I'm starting to get on shakier and shakier grounds the lower in the 32 spots I get, but I think Bloodsport is going to make it. Bloodsport has so far lost to Copperhead in an immense way. That was crazy. But it did get a good win over Gigabyte. Its next fights will be against Rotator and Beta, which are really going to be determinants on how well the upper part, the weapon motor, is able to endure the abuse from these robots. If it gets dominated, it's over for it. But if they can eke out a win against either robots, that might be a solid enough argument for them. Along with their pedigree, they've done pretty well for themselves, let's be honest. They might be safe. Might. Again, we are starting to get rockier and rockier the lower down on the list we go here. Speaking of which, at number 25, I've put free shipping down. Hear me out, okay? Its losses have been to Minotaur and Hydra. Again, we go to that strength of schedule argument. It's won against Gigabyte, and I think it's got a solid chance of beating Big Dill. Big Dill, I gotta say, but after that MadCatter fight, absolutely did a lot better than we expected. But has it been enough to mean that they can beat free shipping, now that free shipping does have that vertical spinner? I'm not convinced yet. And with that in mind, yeah, free shipping might have a chance of getting into the round of 32. Anyway, with that in mind, at number 26, I think Gruff might have enough to make it through. Its loss to Witch Doctor and Quantum, I think, are going to be good strength of schedule arguments, especially Witch Doctor. their win against RIPperoni, especially RIPperoni's performance, is especially going to help them make their argument. And I love you, Malice, but Gruff is a brick. Like, either way, I think that's going to be a very close fight. And I think that Gruff might have just enough of an argument to make it. But we are getting very dicey at this point. So Gruff has got to really... It's really got to knock this one out of the park here. At number 27, we've got Jackpot, who I think will make it into the round of 32. Its losses are to Skorpios and Rotator, which was definitely a rough start for them. But their win against Ribbot has put them back in the running. And I think that they're guaranteed to beat Shredderator. I guess we'll find out tonight. But I gotta say, I think that their 2-2 record is going to be just enough to save them. Will it be enough to get them further, though? Number 28, we have Switchback. Yeah, this one I really am not sure about. I just feel like, their loss to Death Roll was a good argument for them. Banshee was a pretty good win for them, and they're going to be facing Ominous and Hijinks, which I think they've got to... Maybe they can't... I don't know if they can beat Ominous, but they might be able to beat Hijinks. Really, with some of the robots that didn't make it, if you want to know why I didn't pick Robot A, B, or C, chances are I thought the strength of the schedule was so weak, or I just felt that they had such a bad run that I just didn't think that it would be enough. So, I think Switchback has just enough to make it, because we're now getting to the bottom. We're on the bottom 5 now. At number 29, we have Monsoon! Now, Monsoon, who I could have probably placed higher if it wasn't for the fact that their only win so far really isn't that much to write home about against Horizon. Horizon isn't a proven robot in Battlebots yet, and it's just not enough for them to really secure it, even if it was such a great victory. Their losses to Black Dragon and Whiplash are a good strength of schedule argument, and probably the same thing with Death Roll. Though, I gotta say, Monsoon really needs to win that to ensure it, because, like I said, we're at shaky territory now. At number 30, I put Whiplash in, and that's because I think Whiplash, not only did it have some good fights with MadCatter and Hypershock, yeah, it got knocked out, but, again, 2 higher tier robots, they beat Monsoon, and they're gonna have a fight with Tantrum. Win or lose, that's pretty good, all things considered. And I think they might have a chance of winning, which if you can beat the defending champion, safe to say you're going to be in. I think you're going to have a good chance of getting into the round of 32. Speaking of the defending champion, I put them all the way down at number 31. Now, given my whole thing about strength of schedule arguments, I could have placed them definitely higher. And now that I'm looking at it, Tantrum probably could have been higher than like Gruff and free shipping. Look, I'm sorry. I'm literally making this as a silly YouTube video. Please go easy on me. But Tantrum, its losses so far have been quite brutal. It lost to Minotaur. It lost to Blip. I think it's going to lose to Whiplash. Its winning against Hydra is good. I think the ultimate thing that's going to save it, however, is its champion status. That gives it enough pedigree that I think when it comes to the selection, I feel like, controversial or not, they're going to think, well, we can't leave Tantrum. It's the champion. I feel like they won't do it. They will not cut Tantrum before the round of 32. And the final robot that I think will make it into the round of 32, my final prediction, is Ribbot. And man, was this one a tough one to even think about, because I remember right until the very end, until I realized that I had only one spot left to fill, and I think the other robot just had a slightly worse argument. Ribbot, it's such a hard one to imagine making it at this point. It's lost all 3 of its fights so far against Witch Doctor, Claw Viper, and Jackpot. Now, you got the argument of the strength of schedule, of course, against Witch Doctor and I'd argue even Jackpot, but it's not great. Let's be real, it's not great. The judge's decisions might help them. I imagine it might help them a little bit over being KO'd, but it's not solid, let's be honest here. It's not a solid argument. I think that their win against Skorpios will be just enough. Again, there are some robots which didn't make the list where I just felt like their wins and losses were either so bad or just not good enough to make a case. So, you know, like Kraken, for instance, who lost to beat a lucky Copperhead, and its only win is gonna likely be against Mammoth. That's not enough to make the round of 32, as much as I might like Kraken, and as much as you might be able to make some arguments about the opponents it's faced. I think Ribbot has just enough to make it into the round of 32, but that is pushing it. And I wouldn't be shocked if Ribbot gets bumped in favour of another robot that just manages to pull away, given that some of them have 2 more fights to go. Ribbot is one that I am by far the least confident in. But there you are. That is my prediction so far for the round of 32. Now, scrolling down as I make this outro is the match schedule as it currently stands. This is what I had to work with to try and make my predictions so you can see where my thought process is, because I guarantee you, right after tonight's episode airs, this will age like milk. So I need you to see what I was working with to understand some of my thought process. I guarantee you will not agree with me on this. I had to pick 32 robots here. There's going to be a lot of disagreements. Please be civil in the comment section, but I'd love to hear who you think is going to make it into the round of 32. You know, hell, leave your predictions for the round of 32 in the comment section down below. If you can give your reasons, that would be super appreciated. I'd love to have a civil discussion talking about this stuff, because honestly, it is very interesting to see who we think is going to win. Ah, geez, I should probably make a prediction about Giant Nut, shouldn't I? Endgame. I think Endgame's going to do it. Like, being realistic, yeah, there's robots like Riptide and whatnot, but I think Endgame just has it. It's got everything it needs to be a championship-level vert. I think it's got it being real here, but should be interesting. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's very much different than what I'm used to, but I think it was fun in the end. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos on the channel. You know, let me know what you've been let me know if you've been enjoying Battlebots so far. And with that all being said, I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.